Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paridanasaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishnu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Krupa Sindhu Bevatra Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Vishnu Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to study of chapter 12 of Nectar of Devotion. So Srila Rupa Goswami has been giving us these 64 angas of devotional service, of specifically Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And as we remember from the first chapter, there are 3 gradations of bhakti. We start in sadhana bhakti, then we hope to perfect sadhana bhakti for the goal of awakening bhava bhakti. And from bhava bhakti awakens prema bhakti, the utmost perfection of life. And within sadhana bhakti, remember there are 2 divisions, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raghunuga sadhana bhakti. And in Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, the impetus, the motivation to perform devotional service comes from Guru and Shastra. Because the heart is not yet purified, it has many other attachments, but due to some faith in the words of Guru and Shastra, one follows the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti and thus begins to practice. And the goal of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is to awaken this spontaneous mood of sadhana bhakti, which is Raghunuga, to awaken it in a very profound way in which one is naturally inclined to perform the various sadhana principles. The activities are the same in both Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raghunuga sadhana bhakti. Chanting, sankirtan, deity worship, circumambulating the temple, all these things are the same. But the motivation is one out of natural spontaneity. So that is what we are in the practice of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, trying to awaken. Now, Rupa Goswami has given us 64 specific angas, specific activities. It is not left to our own idea of what practices I should perform. It is a prescribed practice to awaken this next level of bhakti. And the prescription for this practice comes from Shastra. So for each of the 64 angas over the last several weeks, we've been discussing the Shastric evidences for each of these angas, why each and every anga of devotional service is so valuable. And with the hope of understanding the significance of it, it will inspire us to practice these. So this is now, this 12th chapter, we'll discuss the last 11 of the 64 angas. And then next week, we'll actually repeat a more in-depth discussion of the last 5, which are called the most potent angas of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada said the most important were the first 3. Guru Padashraya, accepting shelter of a spiritual master, taking initiation, and rendering service to the Guru via following the instructions. These are the most important because from there it unlocks all the other angas of devotional service. And the 5 most potent or powerful are the last 5 that we'll discuss today in brief and then next week in detail. And then that will conclude the discussion of the angas of devotional service. We'll have one more chapter on Jnana and Vairagya, and then we'll proceed to understanding a deeper level of Raghunuga Sadhana Bhakti, and then Bhava Bhakti, and ultimately concluding in chapter 19, Prema Bhakti. Okay? So that is the overview of the next few weeks and a review of the past few weeks. So the first anga presented in chapter 12 is hearing the revealed scriptures. So here, according to Rupa Goswami, he says, any book which gives enlightenment in the matter of advancing in devotional service is considered a revealed scripture. So scripture is for the purpose of giving knowledge so that we advance in devotional service. And Narada Muni glorifies this value of the scripture. It says, it is said to Narada Muni, my dear Narada, a person who writes Vaishnava literature and keeps such literature at home has Lord Narayan always residing in his home. This is the great importance of keeping Shastra in our house. Even if we're not ready to read it yet, we should bring Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Bhagavad Gita at a minimum. Everybody should keep these 3 literatures in our home. It is bringing Krishna into your home. And someday, by that being present in your home, we'll have the inspiration to then read. So these revealed scriptures are very, very important for us. And we know there are lots of different scriptures. So what revealed scriptures especially emphasized for us? And that is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. This is the essence of it all. This is in the 12th canto, 13th chapter, verse 15. Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. Any person who has become attached in some way or other to reading of Srimad Bhagavatam cannot have any taste for reading other literatures. In other words, a person who has relished the transcendental bliss of Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be satisfied with mundane writings. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very important. And the history of Srimad Bhagavatam and how it was compiled is very glorious. Srila Vyasadeva, after compiling all of the Vedas, all of the Upanishads and the various Puranas, was still feeling unsatisfied. And Narada Muni, his spiritual master, told him that this lack of satisfaction is because you have only indirectly spoken about the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, the source of all happiness. And he instructed, now you write about Krishna. And so he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, which speaks directly about the Supreme Lord. And it is instructive for us. We cannot obtain happiness, full happiness, until we come to Krishna consciousness. And Srila Vyasadeva had the same experience. All the Vedas, all the Upanishads, Puranas, so much he compiled. But until he came to speaking directly about Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam, then he was satisfied. And what is the Srimad Bhagavatam? So we have the Vedas, the 4 Vedas. One Veda is broken up into 4 parts. And from the Vedas come the Vedanta Sutras. These are aphorisms or short form statements that bring out the essence of the Vedas. The first sutras, Atato Brahma Jignasa, one should inquire. And like this, there are Vedanta sutras. And Srimad Bhagavatam is a commentary on these Vedanta sutras. So this is the technical aspect of what Srimad Bhagavatam is. And the scene that is presented is the sages have gathered at Naimisharanya, and Sutta Goswami is explaining to the sages what was spoken by Shukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj was cursed by the son of the Brahmana to die within 7 days. And so he inquired from Shukadev Goswami, what should one do on the verge of death? So this is the Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll speak more about it in a little bit and also next week. Next, residing in Mathura. And in the Varaha Purana, this statement is given that one who, the result of visiting all the holy sites within all three worlds is contained within stepping 1 foot into Mathura. Now that is extraordinary. Right? The results of visiting all the pilgrimage sites within the three worlds, not just this earthly planet, is achieved by simply stepping into the holy land of Mathura. Right? Sorry, that's in the Brahmanda Purana. That's where that reference is given. Srila Prabhupada is quoting this. So, in our Acharya's comment that concluded within this Mathura is certainly Vrindavan and also Sridham Mayapur, which is non-different, one and the same. And we understand that we also say, when we go to the temple, that is also non-different from Vrindavan. So where is Vrindavan manifested? One, the pure devotee can bring Vrindavan wherever they go. And Srila Prabhupada established and manifested Sri Vrindavan Dham within all the different places he went. So wherever Krishna is the center of all activities and focus, that is considered Vrindavan. Because in Goloka Vrindavan, there's only one center of attention, and that is Krishna. So wherever Krishna is the center of focus, that manifests Vrindavan. So by pure devotional service, 100% focused on Krishna, one can manifest Vrindavan anywhere. And that is the power of the great pure devotee of the Lord, who can bring the holy dhams with them when they travel to save all of us. So, and if you go to Vrindavan in Mathura district, you'll see all the holy places are there. Anybody knew Badarik Ashram is in Vrindavan? Kedarnath is also in Vrindavan. Setubandhu, all these places, they all exist within Vrindavan. Non-different. So it's the glorious aspect of residing in Mathura. Next, rendering service to the devotees. And here we see so much evidence Srila Prabhupada is presenting here, and Rupa Goswami are presenting, how serving the devotees is more pleasing to Krishna than serving Krishna directly. Okay? It's in a simple logic. If you are walking with your child, and somebody gives your child something nice, a nice piece of candy, that is more pleasing to you than if somebody were to give you something. Right? If somebody does something nice for your child, you become more pleased. So like that, Krishna is more pleased when we serve His children, His devotees. And in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, there is very unique, big emphasis in this Vaishnava Seva. And we see all of our acharyas emphasizing, not in words, but in action, the importance of Vaishnava Seva. So I want to read several of the references here, because they're very powerful. And we should read these over and over and over again to inspire us. So, in the Padma Purana, there is a statement that Lord Shiva is making. My dear Parvati, there are different methods of worship, and out of all such methods of worship, of the Supreme Person is considered to be the highest. But even higher than the worship of the Lord is worship of the Lord's devotees. So this is one evidence from Lord Shiva. Then we see in the 3rd canto, 7th chapter, 19th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, we see, let me become a sincere servant of the devotees, because by serving them one can achieve unalloyed devotional service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. The service of devotees diminishes all miserable conditions, material conditions, and develops within a deep devotional love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can see the result of serving the Lord. Diminishes all miserable material conditions and develops within a deep devotional love. If we're not experiencing love for Krishna, we are suffering some material suffering. What to do? Render Vaishnava Seva. This is the means. Skanda Purana. Quote, persons whose bodies are marked with tilak, symbolizing the conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus, and who keep leaves of tulsi on their heads, and whose bodies are always decorated with gopi chandan, even seen once, can help the seer be relieved of all sinful activities. Not only just serving the devotee, but even seeing the devotee has such a powerful effect. 1st canto, 19th chapter, verse 33 of Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no doubt about one's becoming freed from all reactions to sinful activities after visiting a devotee or touching his lotus feet or giving him a sitting place. Even by remembering the activities of such a Vaishnava, one becomes purified, along with one's whole family. And what then can be said of rendering direct service to him? Even one's family can benefit by our Vaishnava Seva. And this is all coming again from Shastra. Adipura. Krishna himself makes this statement to Arjuna. My dear Partha, one who claims to be my devotee is not so. Only a person who claims to be the devotee of my devotee is actually my devotee. Now that's a very powerful statement. Krishna himself is saying. Lord Shiva has said, Narada Muni has said, different aspects, different Purana. Now Krishna himself has said, one who claims to be my devotee is not so. Only a person who claims to be the devotee of my devotee is actually my devotee. So this is the very important aspect. No one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains this. And one must approach him through his pure devotees. So in our Vaishnava activities, our first duty is to serve the other devotees. One serves one's spiritual master in all other devotees. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my desire is to be das anudas anudas anudas. The servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. And this is heavily emphasized in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can find very practical ways to serve the devotees. And it takes great humility. Oh, I only want to worship Krishna. I don't worship the devotees. It takes great understanding and humility to understand the great power of Vaishnava Seva. Okay. So, next, serving the Lord according to one's position. Now, we should perform these festivals as lavishly as possible. Narottam Das Thakur, when he went back home to Keturi Gram, and his family, his father and uncle were very, very wealthy. And so his cousin was quite wealthy, inheriting all the wealth. He had renounced it all. So when he inaugurated the Gaur Purnima festival, he engaged his family in spending great sums of money to celebrate this festival. He knew that devotees would be coming and they would have to cross the Padma River to reach Keturigram. So he had very elaborate and luxurious boats built just to bring the devotees across the river. He arranged to have built very nice cottages so that while they were there for the 4 or 5 days staying and celebrating the festival, they'd have nice places to stay. Individual cottages were built for all of the guests. Grand, sumptuous prasadam. Big temple was built to inaugurate the installation of several sets of deities. Like this, all the money was spent in Vaishnava Seva and Krishna Seva. So according to one's means, Raghunath Das Goswami, we know in the Panihati festival, Lord Nityananda said, you feed all the devotees, chitta dahi, chipped rice and yogurt. And very sumptuously and grandly, he bought up all of the chipped rice. And he was paying full price. Very eager to spend his income. If according to one's means, the Brahmana, who had no means, who had no wealth, but was able to please the Lord by his meditational service, by meditating on offering abhishek and wonderful jewels and clothing and ultimately sweet rice. It attracted Lord Narayan to come and see him personally and take him back. So whether one has wealth or no wealth, one can serve. But one should serve according to one's position. If you have it, you should use it. That is the instruction here. Performing devotional service in the month of Kartik. Very, very powerful. Very auspicious to perform devotional service. Specifically in Shri Vrindavan Dham. Performing the Kartik Vrat, the vows of Kartik in Shri Vrindavan Dham is so beneficial for our devotional life. It is very, very sweet. If anybody has been, they know. And if you have not been, you can desire very strongly to have the opportunity to observe Kartik Mas in Shri Vrindavan Dham. It is so sweet. Next, observing the festivals. Specifically, what is referenced here is Sri Krishna Janmashtami. We are fortunate we just celebrated Sri Krishna Janmashtami. But this is a very important festival. One of the angas of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is we must very nicely celebrate specifically Sri Krishna Janmashtami. Okay? So now we'll conclude with the final 5 most potent items of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And again, next week we're going to discuss each of these 5 in detail. And so we'll just cover them in summary form here. So serving the deity, increasing our attraction. Krishna has accepted the Archa Vigraha form so that we may begin to develop our relationship with Krishna. We see his form, we can dress his form, we can offer him foodstuffs, we can offer direct service. So Krishna accepts this form to help awaken our relationship with him. And Srila Prabhupada comments that the liberation is only the beginning of one's process. But when one's liberated, then what is the activity that one does? It is devotional service. Like being free from jail is not happiness. It is the activities one can do when they are free from jail that gives happiness. Oh, I can go here, I can go there. That is not just being free itself is not the source of happiness. Liberation, going to the spiritual world, will not give happiness. It is the rendering of devotional service in the spiritual world that will give happiness. And Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing this point in this section about serving the deity. Recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam in association with the devotees. So again, Srimad Bhagavatam we see. Very important. It is considered the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. Why we call it a ripened fruit? When you have a tree, the essence of the tree is its fruit. And the ripened fruit is the ultimate essence. So if you take all the Vedas and all the Vedic literatures, the Shastra, it is representative of a giant tree. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit on this tree. It is the essence of the essence of the essence of all Shastra. And this is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that analogy is carried forward. That it is said that when a parrot, the beak, touches that fruit, then that fruit becomes even more sweet. And Shukadev Goswami, Shuka means parrot. When we hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the lips of Shukadev Goswami, this Srimad Bhagavatam becomes even more relishable. Rupa Goswami emphasizing here among devotees, reciting Srimad Bhagavatam among devotees. How a ripened fruit from the top of the tree reaches the ground. If it goes from the top directly to the ground, it will splatter, it will break. But how it comes? Going branch to branch, branch to branch, branch to branch, it comes down. This is very important. We must hear Srimad Bhagavatam in parampara. That we hear from a bona fide source. There are so many professional reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam who give these Bhagavad Kathas, Sapta Kathas. But they are not potent. Rupa Goswami is instructing us among devotees. We must hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the right means. Srila Prabhupada established how Srimad Bhagavatam should be recited in his morning Bhagavatam class. The narration of Bhagavad Katha was not authorized by Srila Prabhupada. It was done in a very specific way. And so we must follow according. Then the fruit can reach us. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the mouth of a self-realized person. Right? We should hear the book Bhagavat from the person Bhagavat. They are one and the same. The pure devotee and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the pure devotee brings Bhagavat to us. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he used to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. Every day at Tota Gopinath temple, after taking darshan of Lord Jagannath, he would go and hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. So hearing from the pure devotees, hearing in a very specific way is very important in Srimad Bhagavatam. 3. Associating with advanced devotees. So this association of devotees is again very important. Rendering service and association. And this evidence is given about Hiranyakashipu addressing Prahlad. My dear son, association is very important. It acts like a crystal stone, which will reflect anything which is put before it. Prabhupada continues. Similarly, if we associate with a flower-like devotee of the Lord, if our hearts are crystal clear, then certainly the same activities will be there. If we clear our heart of all the contamination, then we can reflect that which the pure devotee is giving us in association. So associating with devotee has more potency as we purify our heart. Then we can reflect the very nice qualities of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada gives the further point here that another example given in this connection is that if a man is potent and a woman is not diseased, then by their conjugation there will be conception. In the same way, if the recipient of spiritual knowledge and the deliverer of spiritual knowledge are sincere and bona fide, there will be good results. So the speaker must be bona fide and the hearer must be also bona fide. So the key is to purify our heart to receive this knowledge very nicely. 4. Chanting the names of the Lord. This is the main and primary anga of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. All the other angas are meant to bring us to this point of chanting very nicely. Why we do each and every other aspect of devotional service? It is to increase the quality and purity of our chanting. The Shishtakshtakam prayers give us the great benefits of chanting. And in the second canto, first chapter, verse 11 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev's Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj, what is the measure of our perfection? Quote, my dear king, if one is spontaneously attached to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is to be understood that he has attained the highest perfectional stage. This is the measure of our perfection. How attached am I to chanting the holy names of the Lord? And Prabhupada guides us further in the discussion that developing our service mood, this is what enhances our attraction to chanting. We must develop this service mood, and that is facilitated by the instructions of the spiritual master. It is through seva, Vaishnava seva, other aspects of devotional service, that will help propel our chanting and become the perfectional stage of bhakti. More on this next week. Finally, living in Mathura, we have discussed the importance of living in the holy dhams like Mathura and Dwarka. So these are the 5 most potent angas of bhakti, and we'll discuss them in chapter 13. Rupa Goswami has dedicated another chapter to repeat the significance of these 5 angas. Okay? So any questions or comments today?
Hare Krishna, bro.
Hare Krishna, brother.
Raji, you were talking about, can you go back to the previous one, the 5 angas? Living in Mathura specifically, you were saying, even if you footsteps in Mathura, that's like equivalent to, putting your feet on, or like going or living in many holy dhams and other things.
Yeah.
So, with regards to Vrindavan, we also, like in Nectar of Devotion, we read about other things, but then like out of all that, being in Vrindavan or like going to Vrindavan is the most. So I was just like
Yeah.
wondering.
Yeah, so this Mathura refers to the whole district of Mathura. Within Mathura is the 12 forests of Vrindavan. And then within the forests of Vrindavan you have Govardhan, and within Govardhan you have Radhakund. Right? So, but it's all within, the specific is given in Nectar of Instruction of within Mathura, where it is the most holiest, most potent place to do bhakti. Right?
Okay.
So, but it is all within Mathura. We think Vrindavan and Mathura are 2 different places, right? You go from Vrindavan to Mathura. But this Mathura is referring to the whole district of that area, is referred to as Mathura district. Just like there's a town of Vrindavan. But also Vrindavan refers to the whole forest of Vrindavan.
Okay.
That's why it's a little confusing, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking it's 2 different places.
it's not 2 different places. It's all within.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Good question. other questions or discussion?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, you had mentioned after reciting Mathura rendering service to devotees, you talked about serving the Lord according to one's position. What was that first example? I kind of missed out in the beginning, and after that you talked about the Panipati festival. But what was that first example when you said
Yeah.
build cottages? Who did it and what was the concept?
Yeah, so the first example I gave was of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur, when he went under the instruction of Jiva Goswami on the book distribution preaching mission, he went back towards his home. And there he celebrated at that time it was called the Keturi festival. It was a celebration of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. It was the first Gaur Purnima festival. So to celebrate the Gaur Purnima festival, very grand arrangements were made. They installed, I think, 3 sets of deities under the instruction of Lokanath Swami. And they invited all the great devotees from all over the area. Very beautiful, even invitations were sent out. And so in that, Narottam Das Thakur came from a very wealthy family. His father and his uncle were both landowners for the king. And so they were collecting great income. And so he was using that family's wealth in celebrating this Gaur Purnima festival and serving the devotees very nicely. When devotees come, we should serve them very nicely. With whatever we have, giving them nice accommodations, nice places to sit, nice prasad. So like that, Narottam Das Thakur was making very nice arrangements for all the devotees to have a good experience in the festival. And it's very instructive because sometimes our focus goes on serving the deities. I'll give one practical example. That, let's say Janmashtami festival. On Janmashtami festival, there is great enthusiasm for cooking for the deities. I want to cook this item, that item. But when it comes for cooking the feast to serve all the devotees of Krishna's guests, there is not so much enthusiasm. Struggle to find people to help. So many people are elbowing their way into the kitchen to cook for Krishna, but when it comes to cook for Krishna's devotees, hardly a soul can be found. This is due to our not understanding this principle of what is pleasing Krishna more, is serving his devotees. We should be elbowing our way in for those services. Of course, all services are needed, but I'm just illustrating the point of how our consciousness can be understood. Okay? How we can find ways to render practical service to the Vaishnavas. It is the most uplifting and purifying service we can do. So I took your question a little bit further. Hope that's okay.
Thank you.
Hari. Any other comments or questions?
Could you explain about this question in the homework, like the second one, what is the path to obtaining a desire to only want pure devotional service? I didn't understand the question as such.
Can you repeat it again?
What is the path to obtaining a desire to only want pure devotional service? Are they talking about first, the step is the Vedi sadhana bhakti? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it's referring again to this one of these angas. I'll give you a hint. If you read the anga, you'll see how by practicing one of these angas, it inspires one to the practice of pure devotional service. There's some specific references in the presentation of Nectar of Devotion. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, if there are any other questions? Okay, Matt, thank you very much. We'll discuss chapter 13 next week. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.